Good morning and welcome to the Millionaire Book Club. My name is Pearlie Hunter. Side effects of tapping in with me every single morning do include personal development, mindset transformations, paradigm shifts, and the ability to think your way to success. So I am super blessed this morning, super grateful. This is a pre-recorded live for Friday, August 6th. Pre-recorded live for Friday, August 6th. So go ahead and drop me something that you're grateful for in the chat. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for this day. I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for another chance to serve in my purpose. I'm grateful for my children. I'm grateful for my parents. I'm just grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for nature and Mother Earth, the sun, the moon, the trees, the birds, the insects. I'm grateful for everything in existence, everything that has air in a body and breathes and lives off oxygen. I'm just super grateful for you, for it, for that. So drop me something that you are grateful for, and I'll get the daily word read. So Friday, August 6th. Okay. So the word for Friday, August 6th, the daily word is wisdom. My God-inspired thoughts, decisions, and actions are wise. Today, I mindfully and intentionally use my gift of divine wisdom to help create a better, kinder world. Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore wrote, God is wisdom. We claim oneness with divine wisdom, and it expresses through us as wise thoughts and decisions and actions. I let my inner wisdom guide me. I focus my thoughts on positive ideas. I choose my words with care, seeking to bless and brighten those who hear or read them. I act with kindness and consideration in every encounter with my friends, neighbors, and even those I don't know. God's wisdom is mine to share. I accept that truth as a sacred responsibility to uplift and heal the world through my wise words and actions. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits. James 3:17. Wow, wisdom. I am wise. Okay, let's pull us a card. Let's pull us a card. My lip gloss is popping, okay? Let's pull us a card. This is the Four Agreements card deck by Miguel Ruiz. This book we read in book club, and we will be starting our 10th book very soon. As soon as I pull this card, I'm going to show you what the 10th book will be for book club. So excited about that. So grateful. Can't believe I done read almost 10 books this year already. It's literally mind-blowing and divine because it's only happening because of the book club every day. Promise. All right. Let's see. Don't take anything personally. Release self-judgment. Don't take anything personally. Release self-judgment. Even the opinions you have about yourself are not necessarily true. Therefore, you don't need to take whatever you hear in your own mind personally. Okay? You don't have to take what you hear in your own mind personally. Release self-judgment. Okay? And then don't make assumptions. Learn to ask questions. I feel like this is the first time we'd had this card before. I never really seen it. Don't make assumptions. Learn to ask questions. It is always better to ask questions than to make assumptions. Have the courage to ask questions until you are as clear as you can be. Once you hear the answer to a question, you won't have to make assumptions because you will know the truth. Okay? So don't take anything personal and don't make assumptions today. Great. So we are going to finish up chapter 10 and Think Like a Monk. But before we do that, I do want to show you guys what our next book will be, because it's only 11 chapters and Think Like a Monk. So this book will be ending real soon. But to follow up, we are going to read this. It's The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. Super cool book. Definitely recommended by some of the top thought leaders out here. Right in alignment with all of the other books that we've read thus far in the book club. So I'm excited to dive into the power of positive thinking. Okay. And we'll do that next week. We starting today on page 239. This is the relationship chapter, part 2. Basically, we did part 1 the other day. This is the part 2. So if I say something that resonates with you, drop an MOC in the chat. MOC basically means moment of clarity. It's my way to connect with my audience, to know that you are taking value from this read, is making sense. You having those shifts. And yeah, you getting something from this. So let me know when you having any moment of clarities, any like aha moments or light bulb moments, okay? Attraction versus connection. Our increased intentionality gives us a clear perspective with which to evaluate why we are initially attracted to people and whether those reasons support our values. There are 5 primary motivations for connection. And note that these don't exclusively apply to romantic prospects. Number 1, physical attraction. You like what they look like. You are drawn to their appearance, style, or presence, or you like the idea of being seen with them. Number 2, material. You like their accomplishments and the power and or the possessions this affords them. Number 3, intellectual. You like how they think. You're stimulated by their conversation and ideas. Number 4, emotional. You connect well. They understand your feelings and increase your sense of well-being. And number 5, spiritual. They share your deepest goals and values. When you identify what's attracting you, it's clear if you're attracted to the whole person or just a part. In my experience, ask most people what attracts them to another person, and they'll mention some combination of the top 3 qualities: looks, success, and intellect. But those qualities alone don't correlate with long-term fortifying relationships. Monks believe that someone's looks aren't who they are. The body is only a vessel for the soul. Similarly, someone's possessions aren't theirs. They certainly don't tell you about the person's character. And even if you're attracted to someone's intellect, there is no guarantee it will lead to a meaningful bond. These 3 qualities don't correlate with long-term fortifying relationships, but they do show your chemistry with another person. The last 2, emotional and spiritual, point to a more profound, lasting connection. They show your compatibility. Quality, not quantity. When it comes to the energy we expend and receive in relationships, the focus is quality, not quantity. I often hear from guilty parents, usually moms, that they feel bad having to work long hours and lose out on time with their kids. According to the first ever large-scale study of the impact of mother's time, it's the quality of time spent with the kids, not the quantity, that counts. That means put away your phone during family time. I'm not a parent, but I know that as a child, I always felt my mom's energy. I never measured how much time she spent with me. My mother worked, and as a young child, I went to daycare. I don't have a single memory from daycare. No painful memories of her absence. But I do remember her coming to pick me up. She'd always smile and ask about my day. This is true in all relationships. Nobody wants to sit with you at dinner while you're on the phone. This is where we confuse time and energy. You can spend a whole hour with someone, but only give them 10 minutes of energy. I'm not able to spend much time with my family, but when I'm with them, I'm 100% there. I'd rather spend 2 hours with them, focused and engaged, than give them partial, distracted energy for a whole weekend. A monk shows love through presence and attention. In the ashram, time invested was never seen as a reliable measure of care or engagement. As I've mentioned, after a meditation, nobody asked how long you'd meditated. They'd ask how deep you'd gone. If you have dinner together every night, great. But what is the quality of the conversation? Think like monks do in terms of energy management, not time management. Are you bringing your full presence and attention to someone? Ooh, I like that. Energy management, not time management, right? Because time is an illusion anyway. So to feel rushed, to feel pressure to do or, perform, it's an illusion of the mind. Okay. It's more about energy management. So try this. Handcuff attention thieves. These days, most of us are losing a battle for our attention. The victors are our screens. The only way to give another person your complete attention for a period of time is to turn off your screens. To give someone in your life the focus they deserve, sit down with them to agree on rules surrounding the phone, the laptop, and the TV. Choose specific activities that will be your quality time without distraction. Agree to turn off your phones, put them in another room, or leave them at home. This may be a challenge at first. Perhaps conversation will lag, or friends and colleagues will be frustrated because they can't reach you. Setting these boundaries will establish new expectations on both fronts. Lapse in conversation will lose their awkwardness. Friends and colleagues will accept that you are not available 24/7. 6 loving exchanges. Most couples don't sit down together, draw up a list of values, and see whether they share them. But once we have clarity about ourselves, we can connect with others in a more intentional way. The Uppa Desmerta talks about 6 loving exchanges to encourage bonding and growing together. There are 3 types of exchanges. Each involves giving and receiving, thus adding up to 6. They help us build a relationship based on generosity, gratitude, and service. Gifts. Giving charity and receiving whatever is offered in return. This seems obvious or maybe even materialistic. We don't want to buy each other's affection. But think about what it means to give to another person with intention. Do you get flowers for your partner on Valentine's Day? This is a very conventional gesture. So consider whether it is one that brings your partner the most joy. If flowers it is, did you walk them past the flower shop 6 months ago to suss out their preferences in preparation for this day? Or did you text a secret query to their closest friend? Both actions entail a lot more intention than just ordering some roses online. Though, of course, that's better than completely forgetting the day. Is Valentine's Day the best moment to express your love? Or would an unexpected gesture be even more meaningful? Have you taken the time to contemplate what an ill friend would really like? Maybe it isn't an object, but an action, a service, our time. Cleaning their car, organizing activities, helping them with obligations, or bringing them someplace beautiful. You can bring the same thoughtfulness to receiving a gift. Are you grateful for the effort that went into the gift? Do you understand why and what it means for the giver? Conversation. Listening is one of the most thoughtful gifts we can give. There's no better way to show that we care about another person's experience. Listening intentionally means looking for the emotions behind the words. asking questions to further understand, incorporating what you've learned into your knowledge of the other person, doing your best to remember what they said, and following up where relevant. Listening also involves creating an atmosphere of trust where the person feels welcome and safe. It is also important to share your own thoughts and dreams, hopes and worries. The vulnerability of exposing yourself is a way of giving trust and showing respect for another person's opinion. It enables the other person to understand the previous experiences and beliefs you bring to whatever you do together. Okay? 6 loving exchanges. Gifts, giving with intention, receiving with gratitude. Conversation, listening without judgment, speaking with vulnerability. And food, preparing without agenda and receiving with presence. Okay? Food. The world was a very different place when the Open des Marta was written, of course. And I interpret this exchange of food broadly to mean the exchange of experiences. Any tangible expression of care and service that nourishes body or spirit, like giving a massage, creating a relaxing space for the other person in the home, or putting on music you know they enjoy. On a grander scale, my wife left her beloved family and moved to New York so she could live with me. An expression of care and generosity that nourished me more than I can say. Once we were in New York, I introduced her to other women to help her find a community. The experiences we exchanged didn't have to be perfectly matched. We looked for what the other person needs most. Try this. Make your conversation into a gift. Ideally, you try to do this in conversations regularly, but this time, do it with focus and intention. Pick a moment you have coming up with someone important to you, a friend, a relative, or your partner. Maybe it's a meal or walk you'll be taking together. During this time, shut off your phone. Give all your focus to the other person. Instead of having an agenda, be curious. If a topic doesn't emerge, ask them open-ended questions to land on a subject that's important to them. What's on your mind lately? How's your relationship with X? Listen carefully. Ask follow-up questions. Share your own experiences without turning the conversation to yourself. A few days later, email or text the friend to follow up. These 6 exchanges can be thoughtless and empty, or they can have true depth and meaning. But don't judge people's efforts without giving them a chance to succeed. Nobody can read minds. If your roommate or partner doesn't guess that you want them to organize your birthday party, it's not their fault. Instead, be clear and honest with them about what you need. Try this. Ask for what you want. Tell the important people in your life how you like to receive love. When we don't tell people what we want, we expect them to read our minds and often judge them for failing to do so. This week, be more genuine in asking people for help rather than waiting for them to predict what you want. Number 1, think of a complaint you have about a loved one's behavior, but don't look too hard for faults. If nothing springs to mind, that's a great sign, and you shouldn't skip this exercise. And you should skip this exercise. Number 2, dig to the root of the problem. What is the real dissatisfaction? You might find that your need corresponds to the loving exchanges. Do you want more time to share and connect? Conversation? Do you feel unappreciated? Gifts? Do you want more support? Food or other acts of service? Articulate it without criticism. Say, this is what would make me feel more loved and appreciated, instead of, you do this wrong. In this way, you give a companion a path to connection, which is easier for them and more likely to fulfill you. Okay. Ready for love. The 6 loving exchanges lay a foundation for any close relationship, but most of us are looking for the one. The Harvard Grant study followed 268 Harvard undergraduates for 75 years, collecting piles of data about them along the way. When researchers combed through the data, they found a single factor that reliably predicted the quality of participants' lives: love. Participants could have every other external marker for success: money, a thriving career, good physical health. But if they didn't have loving relationships, they weren't happy. We all come to relationships with different levels of self-awareness. With the encouragement of online quizzes and dating apps, we list the characteristics we want in a partner: sense of humor, caring, good looking. But we don't look at what we really need. How do we want to be cared for? What makes us feel loved? In How to Love, Thich Nhat Hanh writes, often we get crushes on others not because we truly love and understand them, but to distract ourselves from our suffering. When we learn to love and understand ourselves and have true compassion for ourselves, then we can truly love and understand another person. After the ashram, when I was ready for a relationship, which was not, as some friends assumed, the moment I left, my sense of what I wanted in a partner was steered by self-knowledge. I knew what would compliment me and what wouldn't. I knew what I needed in my life and what I had to offer. My ability to find the right relationship evolved because I had evolved. As it happened, Radhi Devlukia, the woman who would become my wife, already had this self-knowledge too. Without the need for the same journey I made, she knew she wanted to be with someone spiritually connected, with high morals and values. I believe she would have done just fine without me, but I know my life would have been different, full of pain, if I hadn't taken the time to work on myself before diving into a serious relationship. According to Massive Attack, love is a verb. Dan in Real Life says, love is an ability. The Dalai Lama says, love is the absence of judgment. Love is also patient. It's kind. And apparently, love is all you need. With so many definitions of love in our culture, it's all a bit confusing. And I was confused despite all my monk experience. My self-exploration and intentionality and compassion when I ventured out on my first date back in London. I already know I like her. The Think Out Loud group I started in college continued for some years after I left, and I stayed in touch, visiting and lecturing when I came to London. Radhi was part of that community, had come to some of my lectures, and had become friends with my sister. Now people from that community, including me and Radhi, have joined together to organize a charity event against racism and bullying for young kids in England. Seeing Radhi in that context has told me more about her than I would have learned on a dating profile, or even after a few dates. I've seen how respectful she is with everyone on the team. She has interesting opinions and cool ideas. I've had a chance to get a real look at who she is. Anyone can be their online profile for a 1-hour date. It may be their best self, but it doesn't give the full picture. I still haven't gotten a full-time job, but I've been tutoring to make a bit of money. I've saved up a month's earnings and I take Radhi to the theater to see Wicked. Then I bring her to Locatelli, a fancy restaurant that's way above my pay grade. She's polite but unimpressed. Afterward, she says, "You didn't have to do this," and confesses that her ideal date would be going to a supermarket, walking the aisles, and buying some bread. I'm mystified. Who would want to do that? I hadn't had any relationships since becoming a monk, and I had yet to reconcile who I was spiritually with how I used to date. I felt like I had one foot in each world. In spite of my monk training, I snapped right back into my old relationship mode, the one where I tried to give the other person what media, movies, and music told me they wanted, instead of developing my awareness of who they were. I myself love gifts and extravagant demonstrations of love. And for a while, I cluelessly continued to shower Roddy with grand gestures. I got it completely wrong. She wasn't impressed by any of that. She's not very fancy. Even after my years in the ashram, I could still be swayed by external influences or my own preferences rather than careful observation of what she liked. But after my initial missteps, I was aware enough to figure it out. And thank God she married me. If you don't know what you want, you'll send out the wrong signals and attract the wrong people. If you aren't self-aware, you'll look for the wrong qualities and choose the wrong people. This work is what we've talked about throughout this book. Until you understand yourself, you won't be ready for love. Sometimes we find ourselves making the same mistake over and over again, attracting the same sort of incompatible partners or picking them in spite of ourselves. If this happens, it isn't bad luck. It's a clue that we have work to do. The monk perspective is that you carry pain. You try to find people to ease that pain, but only you can do that. If you don't work through it, it stays with you and interferes with your decisions. The problematic people who emerge reflect your unresolved issues, and they will keep reappearing until you learn the lesson you need to learn. As Iyanla Vanzant said to Oprah, until you heal the wounds of your past, you will continue to bleed. You can bandage the bleeding with food, with alcohol, with drugs, with work, with cigarettes, with sex, but eventually it will all ooze through and stain your life. You must find the strength to open the wounds, stick your hands inside, pull out the core of the pain that is holding you in your past, the memories, and make peace with them. Once you've unpacked your own bags and you've healed yourself mostly, then you'll come to relationships ready to give. You won't be looking to them to solve your problems or fill a hole. Nobody completes you. You're not half. You don't have to be perfect, but you have to come to a place of giving. Instead of draining anyone else, you're nourishing them. Keeping love alive. Remember when we talked about the mind? We said that happiness comes when we are learning, progressing, and achieving. And yet, as a relationship lengthens, we tend to long for the honeymoon phase, when we were first falling in love. How many times have you been in a relationship and said to yourself, I wish I could feel like that again, or I wish we could go back to that time? But going to the same place for dinner or to the place you had your first kiss won't bring back all the magic. Many of us are so addicted to recreating the same experiences that we don't make space for new ones. What you were actually doing at the start of your relationship was creating new memories with energy and openness. Love is kept alive by creating more new memories, by continuing to learn and grow together. Fresh experiences bring excitement into your life and build a stronger bond. I have many recommendations for activities couples can do together. But here are a couple of my favorites drawn from monk principles. Number one, find new in the old. Remember when, as monks, we looked for a special stone on the same walk we took together every day. You too can, in the middle of the week, read a book to each other before bed instead of staring at your phones. Take a walk together in the neighborhood and challenge each other to find a certain kind of mailbox or to be the first to spot a bird. Number two, find new ways to spend time together. A study by psychologist author Aaron found that couples strengthen their bonds when they do new and exciting activities together. My wife and I started to do escape rooms together. An escape room is a game where you're both locked in a room and have to find a way out. The staff gives you a few clues, and you have to work together to solve many steps of the puzzle. It may sound a little creepy, but it's actually a lot of fun. You get to learn together. You get to make mistakes together. It's even playing field when neither of you has more experience or expertise than the other. When you experiment together as a couple, you feel yourselves growing together in all areas of your life. You could even try something really scary together, like skydiving or something else that's outside your comfort zone. Remember all the benefits that we found in getting close to our fears? Playing with fear together is a way to practice going into your deeper fears, sharing them with your partner, feeling their support, and together transforming fear. Number three, serve together. Just as serving gives meaning to your life, serving with your partner adds meaning to your connection. Whether it's organizing charity events, feeding the homeless, or teaching something together. My most bonding experiences in monk life came about when I took part in collective projects. The horrid 2-day train journey that I've mentioned, planting trees together, building a school. Instead of focusing on the challenges of the relationship, we develop a shared perspective on real life issues. Connecting for a higher purpose, we feel gratitude and bring that back into our relationship. I know many couples who have met through volunteering. So if you're looking for a well-suited partner, find a cause that is close to your heart. If you meet through an activity such as volunteering, from the start, you already have something very deep in common, and you're more likely to form a deeper bond. Number four, meditate and chant together. When a couple who has just had an argument comes into a room, you can feel the negative energy vibrating between them. The opposite is true when you and your partner chant together. You are bringing your energy to the same place and feel literally in tune with each other. And number five, finally, envision together what you both want from the relationship. When you are aware of what is important to each other, then you can figure out how much you're willing to adapt. Ideally, each of you is striving to live your own dharma. In the best of relationships, you get there together. Wow, I love that. Ideally, each of you is striving to live in your own dharma. In the best of relationships, you get there together, right? And if you don't get there together, then it probably just wasn't meant. Overcoming heartbreak. It can be hard to see clearly when your heart is at stake, but there is one point I want to make abundantly clear. There is a difference between being grateful for what you have and settling for less than you deserve. If we are still listening to our child minds, we're attracted to people who aren't good for us, but make us feel better in the moment. Don't wrap your self-esteem around someone else. Nobody deserves verbal, emotional, or physical abuse. It is better to be alone. Nor should you allow an abusive, manipulative, or toxic relationship to transition into friendship. The dynamic won't change. Trust me. In every relationship, you have the opportunity to set the level of joy you expect and the level of pain you will accept. No relationship is perfect, but if joy never reaches a certain height or holds to a low average, that won't change unless you both put in a lot of work. The same is true for how much disappointment you're willing to bear. Your connection may get a slow start. It can take a while to know each other. But if it never reaches a satisfying level, you need to decide whether to accept it or move on. I know it's not easy when you spent quality time with someone, when you've invested in someone, when you've given yourself to someone. It's hard to let go. Tibetan Buddhist nun Jetsuma Tenzin Palmo points out that we often mistake attachment for love. She says, we imagine that the grasping and clinging that we have in our relationships shows that we love, whereas actually it is just an attachment, which causes pain. Because the more we grasp, the more we are afraid to lose. Then if we do lose, then of course we are going to suffer. Ultimately, holding on to the wrong person causes us more pain than letting them go. The strategies I recommend to overcome heartbreak tie directly to monk ideas of the self and how we find our way toward peace and purpose. No matter what thought we have, we don't run away from it. We give ourselves space to assess and make changes. Spot, stop, and swap. Feel every emotion. It's possible to distract yourself from heartbreak, but the fix is only temporary. And if you deny your feelings, you end up suffering in other ways. Researchers followed incoming college freshmen to see how well they adapted to their transition and found that those with a tendency to suppress their emotions had fewer close relationships and felt less social support. Instead, think about how the other person has made you feel in this situation. You might want to articulate your feelings by writing them down or recording them. Read what you've written and listen back objectively. Do you hear any recurring patterns? You can also do a question meditation, asking yourself about the loss. We like to replay emotions, how perfect it was, how it could have been, how we thought it was going to go, instead of reflecting on how romantic the relationship was before it crashed and burned. Focus on the reality. What were your hopes for the relationship? What did you lose? Is your disappointment tied to who the person was or who they weren't? Explore your emotions until you uncover the root of the pain and disruption. Learn from the situation. Movies, music, and other media send us limited, often inaccurate messages about what love should look like. Use the reality of the breakup to set realistic expectations about what you deserve and need from a new relationship, and remember that yours can be different from the person you broke up with and or the next person to come along. What was the biggest expectation you had that wasn't met? What was important to you? What was good in the relationship? What was bad? What was your role in its demise? Instead of exploring your pain here, you want to investigate the workings of the relationship in order to identify what you want from your next relationship and what you might have to work on in yourself. Believe in your worth. You may undervalue yourself in the moment of a breakup, but your value doesn't depend on someone's ability to fully appreciate you. If you wrap your identity around the relationship, the pain you feel is that you've had to sacrifice that part of your identity. If you expected one person to fulfill all your needs, then of course there is a vacuum when they're gone. Now that you're single, use this time to build a community of people with shared interests whom you want to be in your life forever. Make yourself whole. You need to be someone who makes you happy. Wait before dating again. Remember, if you haven't healed past pain, you might miss your next opportunity for an incredible connection with an incredible person. Don't rebound or revenge date. This only causes more hurt and regret that spread further, a virus of pain. Instead, take some time to get to know yourself better. Build your self-esteem. Invest in your growth. If you've lost yourself in the relationship, find yourself in the heartbreak. The monk way is to build awareness, address, and amend. Either within a relationship or before we enter one, we take a step back to evaluate and make sure we understand our own intentions. Then we can venture into the dating world or return to the relationship with self awareness and love. Spot, stop, and swap. We have turned our attention outward to address the intimate relationships in our lives. Now we come to our relationship with the larger world. I mentioned that at the ashram, I felt a bond beyond my ties to my family, a far greater force uniting and connecting us all. The astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson said, "We are all connected to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, and to the rest of the universe atomically. Knowing this, we must look to the universe to find the true meaning in our life." Okay? So, whoop, whoop, that is it for that chapter, all about relationships. Wow, that was a great, great read. It was really right on time. I'm super, super grateful, super thankful. And that's it with chapter 10. So, chapter 11, we are going to be starting Monday. Chapter 11 is the last chapter of this book, I believe, and it's all about service. Okay. Oh, it's like a meditation, a couple meditations in here too. But yes, next week we are going to finish up Think Like a Monk. I'm super, super grateful. Thank y'all for tuning in today. Protect your energy today. Protect your peace today. Be a light today. Don't let energy vampires steal your joy today. Um, do the best you can not to let the outside circumstances affect the internal peace. Know that you are loved, you are valued, you are appreciated. And I'm super, super grateful. I am your sister in love. I am your sister in light. And I will see y'all Monday morning. Have a great, great weekend.